Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Sharon Lechter. I'm on my Wednesday morning Ask Sharon, and I'm so excited to have you with me. This is a time when we're going to be talking about how your family can sometimes hold you back. Now, we always want our family to be supportive and wonderful, and are blessed when that happens. But sometimes they can be stumbling blocks and hold us back. And so think about times in your life. I know when I first graduated and my parents wanted us to get that college degree and get that career that would be 25 years in the making, retire and have the pension that would support us for the rest of our lives, as well as the gold watch. And I remember when I was 25 and made the decision to leave public accounting, my parents were very, very concerned, very worried. My sister was older and she was the more stable one. I was the wild child because I'd make those decisions. And I still remember, I made the decision to go with a client. It was the worst business decision of my life. I went off to New Hampshire, didn't know a soul. And they didn't judge me. They were just there to support me, but I had to figure out what I was going to do. And as you probably heard from me on other conversations I've had with you, it was the best life decision, because had I not made that bad business decision, I wouldn't have been Michael. And so, not all mistakes, as Napoleon Hill says, out of every adversity or mistake comes an equal or greater benefit. I had pretty instant feedback, and often we don't. But when it comes to your family, you want them to be your cheerleader. You want them to be, the ones who are going to be there to support you no matter what. But sometimes when you look to them for the support that you expect, you end up not getting what you thought you were going to get. There might be some jealousy involved. There might be some frustration involved. It's so important that you ask yourself, what is it that you expect? I've talked about this in other things. Expectations can be the death of us. Expectations can, it's all up in our mind, and those expectations can generate fear. And when reality isn't what our expectations are, and that really it holds true when it comes to our families. And I know so many people that I cherish who had very bad family upbringings, and so they learned very quickly to just rely on themselves. And I feel sad for them that they didn't have the kind of closeness that I did. But when you grow up in a very close family, you have other issues to deal with, and that is those expectations and that feeling of guilt if you're not doing what you think your parents expect you to. But when it comes to being an entrepreneur, now when I took off and did my thing, of course, I realized that that's how I was raised. My father had a career in the Navy and then with Martin Marietta, but then he had rental properties on the side. He had a car business on the side, orange groves. My mother had a beauty shop. So I absolutely was raised in an entrepreneurial environment, and it kicked into me that that's really what I wanted as well. I wanted to be in control of my own destiny. But not everybody supports that decision. And it's something, when you are a parent, you have the same issue with your children. Are you going to support them in finding their own way? Or do you want to map out what they want to do? I know that this is something that I struggled with. Our youngest son didn't do what I wanted him to do. And you have to just allow your children to really find their path and do what they want to do, and support them no matter what. I see quite a few of you have joined me. Albert, Buffy, wonderful to have you with us. Thank you for being with us today. And it's something that I think families, a lot of times they know you one way, and when you make a change, it makes them nervous. And so think of when I'm at seminars, and I often tell people, if your spouse is not with you or your partner is not with you, when you go back, be careful how you re-enter. Because what happens is you've come to this, you got all excited, so excited about what you learned and new things, and then you go back and you just kind of dump it on the person back home. And they're going to go, oh, wait a minute. And so you're going to have a natural push and pull. And so it's better to kind of like, let me share with you some of the notes that I took. Let's walk through this together so that you are having a slow reentry instead of just dumping them on them. And in a bigger role, it's important because if you think about it, you're going along life and then you make a change. Now, a lot of times we think that our family's holding us back. You've probably heard the parable of you put one crab in a box and it just gets right out. You put two crab in the box and neither one of them, because they keep pulling each other down. Well, in real life, that happens too. But it may not be that they don't want you to be successful, but they see you changing and they're not. And that makes them fearful, makes them look at themselves, and it makes them probably a little angry at themselves, a little envious that you're taking this step. And so what that looks like on the outside is them trying to hold you back. And it's really their own fear. And so you need to look at that. And it's a natural evolution, and it does happen. And so when you see it, first thing is to recognize it and then realize that you need to mitigate it, and mitigate it by surrounding yourself with people who do want you to be successful and want to support you in creating the success that you deserve. Because in time, as you start becoming more successful, your family, your parents, your siblings, your children, they're going to be your biggest cheerleaders. But that pathway in between can sometimes be very stressful. And particularly when you have people in your family that you work with daily that are in your business. You know, my oldest son was in my business for a long time at Rich Dad and then at Pay Your Family First. And it was the greatest joy and at times the greatest frustration. And so you have to set out those ground rules. Michael and I are partners in many of our businesses. And so as a husband and wife, we have to set up ground rules. It actually kind of makes it kind of funny because one of our big ground rules was that we wouldn't talk business upstairs in the bedroom. And I break that rule all the time, but at least the rule's there and we can kind of laugh about it. And so the issue is, again, you're going to hear this word many times during this short live Facebook broadcast, and that is communication, is really being open and not hiding things. Because when you hide things or you're trying to tap down a feeling, you end up, it festers inside of you. And so I think it's something that each of us needs to look at in our own life and say, am I being open and honest in my communications? We had quite a few questions come in, lots of questions. So I'm going to jump into them so I can make sure I get to all of them. Here we go. Hi, Sharon. My name is Victor, and I'm from Stockholm, Sweden. I read the Swedish edition of Rich Dad Poor Dad many years ago and inspired me to pursue investments in assets one day. I'm now living in the US and ready to make my first property investment. Because my family is afraid of losing money, they will not invest with me. Well, that's okay. Something I was just talking about. I have contacts with individuals who want to invest too, and we are buying property together. How should we form our investment to minimize potential loss? I want to protect my family's future, but also don't want them to be able to say they told me so if something goes wrong. Well, Victor, this is like a complex equation because there's a lot of issues to discuss in your question. But number one, thank you for your vote of confidence in Rich Dad, and I'm delighted that you're taking the opportunity to start investing in assets. Remember my favorite word, assets. First of all, the first question is, are you a U.S. citizen? Because that's going to depend, that's going to impact if you're living here, how you can form your entities and which entities are available to you. So obviously I would suggest you look at an LLC or a limited liability partnership for holding the property with your investors. A lot of times it's going to depend on which, how you can invest in that. Having a written agreement with your partners as to what your intent is with the property, who's going to manage it, who's going to be the primary day-to-day manager, the active partner versus the passive partners. What is your intent? Is it to hold it for cash flow or to flip it because that's going to impact on the kind of entity you hold it in, but you're going to want some sort of a limited liability entity to protect your own personal assets, and not a general partnership. That's a real no-no, because then your partners, your other investors, their liabilities become yours. So definitely no general partnership, but look at a limited liability partnership, look at the limited liability companies, and make sure that the state where you find your investment, that you're qualified to do business in that state. You may form your entity in another state, but you definitely want to make sure you're qualified. And so wanting to protect yourself and your family is an important issue. Making sure that your partners or people that you want to do business with, making sure you've checked them out and their relationships and their businesses, to make sure that that's something that you feel a high level of trust in them, not just go for the money, because you're in business with people, not just with money. Okay, so let me go to the next one. Sharon, my question for you is related to having my son in my business. Okay. My name is Catherine, and I own a consulting practice where we offer a variety of financial and operational services to business owners. I've always thought at least one of my kids would be in business with me, and was excited when my son showed interest. However, after having him work with me over the last year, I'm not sure he's a good fit for my business. Oh my goodness. Okay. Catherine, I understand where you are. This is heartbreaking to me as his mother, but also frustrating for my business partners and team members. My son seems either unaware or apathetic about the situation. I'm battling with myself over giving him more time to figure things out, or just admitting it isn't a fit. What do you recommend I do to figure out the right path? Well, what decision would you make if he was not your son? Catherine, that is kind of a in-your-face question, but we want our children to be raised and become independent, responsible adults. And if we baby them, that is going to hinder that happening. And so ask yourself, are you causing harm to your business, to your other partners, by not addressing the situation? And probably, I'm going to venture to say your son, what you see is apathy. Let's see, what you say? You're apathetic. It may very well be, and you said unaware. He may not be aware of what your expectations are of him. Have you given him clear goals, clear benchmarks? And maybe this isn't the path he really wants. Maybe he's doing it because he knows that's what you want. So again, clear communication, having an honest conversation with him as business partner to business partner as to what he wants out of life. And I take the family relationship out of it. I have often been quoted as saying a toxic employee, an unhappy employee creates a toxic or unhappy environment. So it's not good for him. It's not good for your other partners. It's not good for your employees. And certainly as a mother, it breaks your heart because you see it from a business perspective. You're frustrated. As a mother, you're brokenhearted that your son is not happy and therefore you're not happy. And so I strongly recommend that if you feel that you can't deal with him one-on-one, then you find someone to come in as a coach or as a counselor that can help you address the situation with each other, so that you end up creating a pathway for happiness for yours and for his, so that he can find what really he wants out of life. But Catherine, my heart is with you. And thank you so much for sharing this, because it's hard. It's really hard to open up, particularly when it's a mother's pain on top of a business owner's pain. Now I have Pierre. Thank you for taking my question. My name is Pierre. I'm 25 years old. Oh, young and ready to go. Living in Austin. My parents adopted me when I was 4, and they are in their they were in their late 40s. Okay, I'm a college graduate with a passion for urban art. My work has been featured in local publications. Congratulations. And I'm feeling momentum and enthusiasm for my work build. I love my parents dearly, but the huge generation gap has created a gap between how I want to build my future and what they feel is responsible and reasonable. I want to make my parents proud and to honor the investment they have made in my education, but I also want to enjoy what I do. I've read many of your books and study other influencers such as Gary Vee and Lewis Howes. You know how many successful in all, you know many successful group people in all age groups. How can I share my vision with my parents who don't seem too interested in learning about how I can build a name for myself as an artist? Well, Pierre, my heart goes out to you. I think this happens a lot, particularly with young artists whose parents want them to have the typical college career and business career. But I think your success and making sure they see that success every time you get an article written or a testimonial, make sure you share it with them so they can start seeing that you are making a dent and that you are creating a name for yourself. It's that same thing, the crab in a box. They're going to start seeing that success. And when they start seeing it, their fear, knowledge is power. We've heard that. As you continue to build your reputation, their fear is going to lessen and lessen. Doesn't mean that they, again, try and look at it from their perspective. It's hard because you want them to support you no matter what. And just make sure, I think you probably do love them for the fact that they raised you. And certainly being adopted adds a whole nother layer of issues. And again, maybe it's something that a third party can help you. Maybe friends of your parents that might be more open to what you're doing. Ask them their advice on how to get through to your parents. They know them, they know you. And if they're a little more willing to support you, then they might be able to help you figure out how best to communicate to your parents. Because there's, when love and guilt get in the middle of business, it makes things very, very difficult. Well, hi, Lana. I'm so happy you're with us today. And Ashley Johnson, wonderful. Brett, Murta, you love it. I'm so happy you guys are joining me. Vivian. My name is Vivian and I live in Atlanta. I've always dreamt of being an entrepreneur and recently used my credit card to finance the purchase of materials that I can use to set up pop-up shops. I know that this may not be the best way to cover costs, but seemed like my only option after my family declined my request for a loan to get going on something that I am passionate about and willing to work really hard to make successful. I wonder if you would have done it differently if you were in my situation. Well, that's a big question mark with a whole lot of information that I would need to really answer that right here on Ask Sharon. So if you're listening, Vivian, maybe you can send in some additional information. But the first question is, are you already in business? Do you have some revenue? Have you established that what you do people want and they're willing to buy? So if you have an established system, so now you're just adding distribution opportunities, that's good, the pop-ups. Making sure you still have the license to get in where you're going to put them. And so once you put them on your credit card, the clock is moving against you from a standpoint of the interest on your credit card. So how soon can you get into revenue? Is this something that maybe one pop-up could have been testing that distribution cycle for you better than multiples? Again, is this an established business already? Have you formed your business entity? Are you doing this out of impulse? So again, the information that you would need that I would need is a lot more than what you've shared. But I want to just give you those things to think about, because I want to applaud you for doing what you're passionate about. I just want to make sure that along with that passion, you're doing the talent side, making sure you have the right people supporting you and on your team, making sure you have the foundation of your business put together. We have a program called Essential Components of a Successful Business. You may want to look at that because even with small pop-ups, you're still a business. And so I want to encourage you to go check that out, Essential Components of a Successful Business. Angela will post something on how to find that in the comments for you. But I want to applaud you for taking control of your own life and wanting to build a business. I just want to also encourage you to make sure you're putting the right ducks in the row to make sure that those pop-ups will start generating the revenue so you can pay off that credit card debt. And Maybe your parents or your family may be more interested in supporting your expansion once you show success at the level that you are. So I wish you the very best. If, on the other hand, this was an impulsive, I want to show them way to increase your personal debt without having those things in process, pay attention to that, recognize it, and realize that you were a little impulsive. How can you correct that? And then focus on building that structure so that you can start getting in the revenue that you need to pay down that debt. 100% focus on your business right now, not on whether or not you could get the money from your parents, because sometimes that gets hurtful and that emotion keeps us from focusing on what we need to do. So set that aside and focus on creating that success. And then your parents will wake up, your family will see the success you've created, and they'll be there. They'll be cheerleaders for you, but focus on creating that success. Let's see. Hello, Sharon. My name is Patricia. I currently live in Denver. In the last year, I completed my nutrition degree, and I'm currently working on certifications to become a personal trainer. My grandson is doing that. I have a passion for health and nutrition, but I'm often confronted with negativity from my family, many of whom believe that there isn't enough income potential in these fields to justify investing more time and energy into additional trainings and certifications. I would like to think that I can create my own success, no matter what the field of expertise is. It would be really helpful to be able to show my family something that validates that I can help people change their lives while building a fruitful business for myself. Do you have any suggestions on one step I can take that will provide a bit of credibility and public validation? Well, Patricia, thank you for that question. I think the first step is going to be start working with a couple of people that need your type of services and help them create success in their life. Getting those testimonials go a long way to validating what you can do and how you can support people. And in your field, the more certifications you have, the better qualified you are, the better, the more easier it is for you to get a job, if that's what you're looking for, or to validate your expertise. But along with that, you need to have those testimonials and experience. And certainly, there are a few people in your field out there that are making millions of dollars. And so focusing on what you do and how you do it and how you spread what you do through social. One of my clients, several clients I have in that field, and they make sure they have a strong social media presence, a way to describe what they do, and giving out nutritional tips. Again, start building your expertise in the area by sharing what you know, and building a following is what's going to support you. And once you can show that, your family will see it because you can share your social media presence with them. But I would really focus on getting those couple of testimonials up front that you can use and that you can rely on. That probably would be my recommendation for first step. Because certainly people you hire personal trainers all the time. In fact, I've been thinking about hiring one myself. And so I would want to know that somebody that I would hire has success stories. So start there. Get some, even if it's somebody you do it without having to charge them very much, but just to establish success and results for them will go a long way to help you build your business. But good luck, Patricia, because a lot of these things we're talking about again is communication with each other, with your family, but also communication to the world on how you build your business, how you let people know how to find you. Because it sounds to me like you're doing exactly what you're passionate about. And I have to make sure, again, you may want to look at essential components of a successful business. Because Patricia, if you only do what you do in the personal training, you're limited to your time. And so you want to, how can you leverage that? How can you create something, a program that can be sold online, a book that people can read, a cookbook, nutritional ways that you can start creating assets that can live bigger than you. I mean, if you think about the, what is it called? That show, The Greatest Loser, and the people that establish all kinds of reputations by being a personal trainer on that show. How can you create something that will give you that notoriety and give you the opportunity to start building your reputation? But start with getting those first couple of people, first couple of testimonials. All right, so we talked about Vivian with her credit cards. As you all know, credit cards to me is pretty much always bad debt. So please pay attention to your credit card and make sure you can do whatever you need to do to get it uh, reduced as quickly as possible and getting that revenue up. Hi, Sharon. I'm writing today to share a success story in the hopes it will help people tuning into your show. Yay. My name is Raymond, and I own 3 franchises in my home state of Oregon. When I first started purchasing franchises, my family was not excited. I think this is kind of what we've been talking about, isn't it? Yep. It was a huge investment, and there was a lot of rules to follow. They said that I wasn't really the business owner because I couldn't really do things my own way. Franchise and entrepreneurship. The structure and the systems gave me confidence that I could be successful at something that was completely new. Right. That's the benefit of a franchise, established and proven successful systems. About 2 years of making it work, after about 2 years of making it work with the first franchise, I bought a second. My family was still concerned about the required investment, but they were less negative. Good. By the time I purchased the third franchise, I got very little pushback. And they had less fear about what I was doing because they saw it was working. I realized over time that it wasn't really my family, that they really didn't have faith in me. They just had fear about the things that were outside of my control and didn't really understand the potential reward. They came around once they saw the possibility for success. All right, so that's exactly what I've been talking about, because your family cares about you so much, they worry about you. And they worry about all the things that could go wrong and all the things that could keep you from creating the success that you want in your life. And so I want you to think about this. Everybody listen and learn from Raymond's success, because that's exactly true. Your family gets concerned because you're doing something different. And that concern, as I said, could be fear for themselves. They see you doing something and they're not doing it. And then, so their fear about their own lack of inertia, their own lack of striving for success is communicated through trying to pull you back. It's not because they don't want you to succeed. It's because they don't want you to succeed if they don't. And that's part of the, it's that internal fear of seeing other people pass you by. And so think about that, and you give them a little bit of extra patience, but then make sure if you have that negative influence that you fill your rest of your time with people who are supportive and want you to win, because that's going to help you get through those tough times. And, we just talked about the one who had the son in the business. It was Catherine. When I first had Philip at Rich Dad, out of respect for him, respect is so important. And when he started working with us, when we were at the office, I was Sharon. But once we stepped outside the office, I was Mom. And so that was my respect to him, so that he could stand in his own power and create his own reputation. And so that was one of the rules that we had. And it was a small thing, but it allowed him to feel more in control of his own destiny. And I think that's important, that you think about, how can you make sure you maintain that level of respect so that you can both pursue the career, because he and I are very different. Things that, I'm a little bit more scatterbrained, shiny object syndrome. He's much better management of people and tremendous talent. And so understand what the strengths are and appreciate those strengths. Now here, my last question, Sharon, I have a personal question. Oh, great. Okay. But I would like to ask you about how your marriage has lasted so long with the rigorous demands of being a highly successful couple. Both you and your husband have had high profile careers, and I wonder if there's ever a time when you question your ability to have a successful relationship and keep up with all that is required of building businesses. I've been married for 15 years, and as my business approaches the $1 million mark, congratulations, I'm working harder than ever. My husband is supportive, but also very vocal about the toll it's taking on our marriage because he has a demanding job and we don't spend much time together anymore. If you've ever been in a marriage funk, how did you work your way out? Well, your question is about your marriage. I don't see a name here, so I'm just going to talk about my marriage. The first thing is you're an entrepreneur, you're building your own business, and you said your husband has a job, so he's an employee. And so first you have to take a step back and say, okay, I love this man. Remember how you fall in love with him, and realize that as a, you have different thought processes as an entrepreneur and an employee. And part of your success is, my question to you, are you sharing your success with him? Is he hearing about it and seeing it along the way? Or is he just seeing the time commitment? Because it's so important to have that communication. Now, yes, Michael and I, after 38 years, we've had all kinds of ups and downs in our marriage as it relates to his demanding career as an attorney, my demanding career as a writer and a speaker. And certainly it took a lot for him to get used to me being gone all the time as I started speaking internationally. He wasn't really, he's of that generation. He wasn't really crazy about his wife running around all over the world without him, and still probably isn't crazy about it too much. But it's something that you make a choice, and you have those areas of communication. Michael and I have different attitudes related to a lot of different things, and so it's important that we have open dialogue, and you choose your battles. I hate to say it that way, but you choose your battles as to what's important. But you always come back to what brought you together. My husband's still the smartest man I've ever met. Tremendous respect for him. And I think the respect for each other is what got us through the Cold Wars. We've had a few where you get frustrated with each other. You get frustrated with one of us is spending more money or time than the other one on something, and it gets frustrating. And being willing to have those open dialogues. And sometimes it's better to do it like on a money date, go to dinner and have that conversation. So you're on neutral territory, and don't have those conversations in bed. That's not a good way to end an evening. But again, having respect and trying to put yourself in his shoes. I will go out of my way to fix a dinner that I know he loves when I'm being particularly gone a lot, or take the time to sit and watch his favorite TV shows, or make sure we have time to go to the ranch, because I am invested in our marriage in a big way, and I want it to last. And so I realize he's, after 38 years, he now gets used to not having every meal prepared for him. And I'm at his age, that's not an easy transition for him to make. So there's always give and take. And I really, really appreciate his willingness to let me do my thing. I mean, he was gone all the time when our kids were little, because he was a rising star in his law firm. And so I would get frustrated because he wasn't around much. Even though I was working, I was home a lot more than he was. And that frustration could have ended the relationship, but I wouldn't allow it, because I knew he was investing in our future. And I recognized that. And now he sees, I'm investing in our future, as well as doing what my heart tells me I need to do. And again, this whole play big movement is about not just being number one in your field, but living your legacy and creating maximum impact. And those things are very, very important for me. And, I know he's not watching this, so I'll tell you this. At this level, at this stage in our marriage, he's wanting to slow down more than I am. I want to get back out there and continue building. So we're going through those dynamics right now of having those conversations about how does that look like? How do I keep him happy? And he spends a lot more time at the ranch, which makes him very, very happy. And I'm still out there doing what I love to do. And so it's something that we have had those conversations. We continue to have those conversations, because bringing us back to why we fell in love and the respect that we have for each other. And so again, I suggest you just be real open with him, and let him be proud of what you've created. Again, you probably have a few testimonials. Make sure he sees them. Sometimes we're so busy when we're in our business that home and business are completely separate. Make sure he sees, and don't deluge him with it, but little bits and pieces of your success, so that he can start having that pride and understand that you're successful. And maybe, I don't know you, I don't know your husband. He sees you creating the success, $1 million in revenue. Maybe he's a little frustrated for himself. I don't know. He's got a successful job, you say, but maybe there was always something he wanted to do as an entrepreneur. And he, maybe he stayed in the job to provide security for your family. And so give him the benefit of the doubt. Allow yourself to say, what could this be coming from inside him and not just frustration about your time. So again, those open dialogue, that open communication is so very, very important. And yes, this is a hot topic. I thank you for all your comments, all the people that have been watching. And I'm already well over my time, but I just want to talk to you, understanding your family and giving them patience and time to communicate with them openly. And if indeed they frustrate your pathway to success, make sure you may not want to get rid of your family, and I don't ever recommend that, but limit the time you spend with them and surround yourself with people who do want you to be successful. Now, take a moment though and listen to them and try to remove the emotion and say, do they have a valid point? Are you acting emotionally? Are you acting, are you running into the unknown without doing your homework? And if you're setting up your own business, again, essential components of a successful business, I know Angela put something in the comments, is a way for you to kind of check yourself. Look through it and say, have I done what I needed to do to build the business to create success? But thank you so much for being part of my Facebook Live. Now, I'm very excited about our podcast. We're getting closer and closer. We're going to launch it in June. And I'm having the podcast is going to be the Play Big Movement podcast. But inside the Play Big Movement private Facebook group, I'm going to have more personal questions with my guests that will only be seen there. So please make sure you join the Play Big Movement private Facebook group. It's called Play Big Movement with Sharon Lechter. And thank you so much for watching today. And again, as I say, pick your battles, love your family, listen to them, but only take what makes sense and then limit what doesn't, and understand that it may just be them being fearful for themselves. So give them a break, but make sure you focus on the people who do want you to succeed and support you. And I just wish for you the greatest success ever. So love you all. Until next time, thank you so much.